Yo, salute to everybody already here in the building. Y'all know what time it is. Welcome to the latest installment of the 12 Personnel Podcast. I got both my brothers here in the building. Sanjeet, how you feeling, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. It sucks, man, because it's going to be a tough game coming up because of all the injuries and the fact that we haven't really looked too good.
Yeah.
It's going to be a tough game, man. I don't even know. I know there's going to be a lot to talk about, so I'm excited about that.
Definitely. Salute to my brother, Wasted Talent, man. What's good with you, King?
Man, bro, it's nasty work, man. But, after every tragedy, there's some triumph that can be had, So hopefully we get to see somebody step up and see one of these young guys we drafted kind of produce, man.
Yeah, man. You know, it sucks. For those who are looking and seeing the energy here on screen, you guys already know DAVANTE Adams is out with a hamstring injury that was sustained yesterday in practice. MAXX CROSBY's been dealing with that high ankle sprain. He is officially out. First game he will miss of his career. I know Max is at home pissed off right now, and hopefully this is the coaching decision because you guys know Max would force himself out there to play through this. But you something like this can derail his career. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. Munford dealing with multiple injuries. He's out at right tackle. So it looks like we're going to get another look at DJ Glaze. And I'm excited about that, Sanjeet. Mr. Trenches, how do you feel about him being there at right tackle and potentially JPJ out there at starting guard on Sunday?
Yeah, it's interesting because when you think about Jackson Powers Johnson, we all thought this guy was going to play left guard, but he ended up coming in that right guard, and I felt like he looked really, really good, right? I understand why you rotate him in, right, and you don't start him. You want him to kind of get used to that game speed. I hope he's a full-time starter come this week because the guy's a difference maker. Yeah. Now, I think the thing with DJ Glaze is going to be he has a tough-ass matchup coming up against Myles Garrett. And, he had some losing snaps last week against Jadeveon Clowney, but Clowney's not on the same level as Myles Garrett. So it's going to be hard as hell, man. It's going to be tough. It's a tough-ass matchup. Do you guys agree that Myles Garrett's the best defensive player in the NFL? Like, do you guys think that, or do you guys think it's someone else?
To be, it's probably 1A, 1B with him and Watt, him and TJ Watt. I think
it's subjective.
And we love MAXX CROSBY. It's easy as Raider fans to say he's the best, but I mean, TJ Watt and Myles Garrett, I think, are two of the better players, just period.
And also Chris Jones. Chris Jones is another guy that a lot of people need to really realize what he brings to the table. He's a complete game wrecker.
But the thing is, Myles Garrett is dealing with three different injuries right now. You know what I mean? So he will play. I mean, if you guys seen today, the Browns ruled out, I believe, 3 or 4 players. David Njoku is out. Their tight end's gone. Jedrick Willis, left tackle. Right tackle Jack Conklin is out. And the running back Pierre Strong Jr. is also out. So they had an extensive injury report, but most of them will be playing. So those are the only 4 players out there. But that O-line is beat up. This is a tough pill to swallow, you guys, because MAXX CROSBY could have ate with this offensive line looking the way it is. Watson has gone down a lot this year. He's struggled mightily. I've said this on multiple shows. I believe they're only averaging like 3.2, 3.3 yards per play. That is second in the NFL right now. We expected this Cleveland Browns team coming off of a playoff appearance last year to be phenomenal this year, man. So, but yeah, it's nasty, man. It's nasty. But we have to find a way to win. And this is, I just put this out on Twitter, you guys, and let me know what you think about this. I think the Cleveland Browns look at this more as a must-win now. Could you imagine them going back to Cleveland, losing to a DAVANTE Adams-less, MAXX CROSBY-less team? Like, heads will be flying out there in Ohio if they lose to this team, whether they're on the road or not.
Well, I mean, this Cleveland Brown team is underperformed and underdelivered because it starts at the top and it starts with their quarterback. Now, the thing that I worry about is the fact that Deshaun Watson has started to trend more towards, the guy that he might have used to be.
Until last week, he looked kind of bad against the Giants team.
Yeah, he did until last week. Now, there have been a lot said about Deshaun Watson, his off the field, but on the field, there's one thing that Tom Brady actually said. He said that, when and this is inside information from the fact that the guy that coached him, Bill O'Brien, he said that Bill O'Brien ran relatively the exact same offense that they did at Clemson. Yep. And that's why he was successful. And this is what Tom Brady was talking about previously a few weeks ago when he's talking about the dumbing down of how they develop quarterbacks in this league. Now, I don't know what the Cleveland Browns are going to do, if they're going to acquiesce to Deshaun Watson and make him a better player. But I hope that this is not the week that they reinstall some concepts from Clemson. Continue to keep doing what you're doing so this guy can be derailed and be terrible.
What do you expect, Sanjeet, going off the ways to talk about?
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting because Andy Dalton came in last week, right? And people are gonna throw it out there. The Panthers were a shitty team. They haven't shown anything in the first 2 games, but the Panthers were different, right? Because the Panthers had Bryce Young, who obviously just isn't ready at the moment, right? Maybe down the line he'll be able to turn it around, but at the moment he clearly just wasn't ready. And then essentially they went to Andy Dalton, who's an experienced quarterback, and that team was fired up to come into that week with the new quarterback. They're fired up because that offensive line was revamped in the offseason, and people were still kind of like, hey, that offensive line's not that good. And they wanted to prove people wrong. And the Panthers were able to come in with Andy Dalton, and they had success, right? And they beat the Raiders. They beat the shit out of them. So this is be honest.
Yes.
Right? Their offensive line bullied our defensive line, which I haven't seen that in the Antonio Pierce era.
Yeah.
And then more than that, our offensive line continued to struggle, right? It's the same shit that we've seen for the first couple of weeks. This one we saw in the preseason, right?
Yep.
The Browns are different. The Browns kind of suck as well, right? And it really starts with the fact that their quarterback sucks, right? I do think Deshaun Watson's not a good quarterback at this point. And it's not like something happened that's firing them up and they're excited to come into this game, right? But the Raiders, on the other hand, do kind of have that excitement a little bit, right? Because Pierce kind of called everybody out publicly, right? To me, he called out players, right? Essentially what he said was directed at the players. I think the Raiders are going to be fired up this week. I don't know if the Browns are going to be fired up necessarily, right? Okay. The way the Panthers are, at least.
Okay. I was saying this behind the scenes, and I actually put it on Twitter as well, that I'm excited to see what this – don't mind you, I would rather have Davante Adams out there, but I'm excited to see what this offense looks like without Davante Adams being the focal point. And I know that Gardner Minshew was going to be the guy, right? So he's going to be the guy out there. This may be his last – chance to really keep that quarterback one position, because they've been saying by quarters, and well, guess what? First quarter is up after this Sunday. But this would be a week where Aiden O'Connell would be a blessing in disguise because of the connection that he has with Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm hoping if Gardner's struggling early, you guys, I would not be shocked to see Aiden O'Connell out there because of the connection. We've seen it on the last drive, Wasted, right? Yeah. Against the Panthers, he went out there. Where'd he go? He went right to his guys. Yeah. Started working. Jacoby, Trey Tucker, and then you have a guy in Brock Bowers that can do it all. And I said this on the show, and I want your guys' opinion on this. This is a guy that is a generational type player at his position. Well, he's kind of positionless. You can build an offense around him. I'm excited to see him actually be the number one option out there with Michael Mayer out with personal issues, and all that other stuff. I'm excited to see what this offense looks like out there without Davante Adams. And I hate to say it, but it's the inevitable. Whether it's the trade deadline next year, the following, Davante's not going to be here for too much longer after those $40 million contract start hitting. And I see a few people, he can restructure and so on and so forth. Why would you want to restructure with a team that's not, up to the standards that you want to be around?
Yeah, and he's trying to carve out a Hall of Fame career, right? And he's checked a lot of boxes. The one thing that he wants to check is that championship box, right? That's what kind of puts you in that rarefied Jerry Rice air, right?
Yeah.
The thing with Aiden O'Connell, and I prefer for the Raiders to handle it the way that they've handled it, there's not a whole lot of game tape on Aiden this season. There is tape on him, but he's a different player this year. So I would like the Raiders to make that change if Gardner Minshew is not firing on all cylinders mid-game, because that's something that the Browns wouldn't be prepared for. That's something that'll give this team some juice, give this team some life, and it'll be something like kind of a curveball to throw at this organization the same way that we got that curveball with Andy Dalton coming in. Yeah. Now, what I see from some of the infinite opportunities that we have for young players to go out there to
definitely
is the fact that some of the guys that are hurting, and I'm not talking about MAXX CROSBY excluded and Davante Adams excluded, are two guys that have humongous question marks in Thayer Munford, right? Divine Diablo. These are the two of the biggest question marks on our team. And I love the fact that we get to see their possible replacements in real time in this season, get some real snaps, not preseason, so we can pontificate on some bullshit that they're going to be good. Another thing is that, and when you talk about Antonio Pierce calling the team out, I need for him to stand on what he stands on. If you go out there this week and guys are not tackling, Guys are missing tackles, and this is a Trayvon Merrick special. If that guy goes out there and kills grass, as Stu and them say,
Great Willie Brown,
the great Willie Brown, I'm dialing that up too. It's time to sit his ass down.
Yeah.
Not next game, this game. Sit him down, bro.
And Sanjay, you know what's funny, man? I said this on the show yesterday. I feel, and I want your opinion on this, because I feel like this is way too early to already be having these meetings behind closed doors. We did it last year, you know what I mean, with Josh McDaniels. The next thing you know, turn around, he's fired. We're going into week 4, and there's already players that are making business decisions, and there's conversations behind the scenes, and it's like, wow, like, what are we doing? I mean, how do you feel about them already having that this early in the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's on AP, to be honest, and
Definitely.
specifically, it's on AP for making those comments. Right? He should not have put that out there, in my opinion. He should have kept that to himself, and he should have spoken to the guys in the locker room, and he should have made it known, if you're not going to tackle, I'm going to bench your ass.
Yeah,
but he did not have put that out there. All right. I think sometimes one of the things that happens with AP is he's way too honest at times, and I think those are one of those moments where he was just being too honest. He should not have called the team out publicly, in my opinion, right? Because now what's happened is we're all saying, oh, is it Jack Jones? Is it Trayvon Merrick? Is it Gardner Minshew? Is it Luke Getsy? Now we're all having these conversations. We need stability.
Yeah.
Right. Like Kolton Miller shouldn't be thinking to himself, hey, I've given up some sacks. Or are they going to potentially bench me?
Yeah.
Right. Gardner Minshew shouldn't think to himself, I'm going to be benched. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like you two think that the Raiders should go forward with Aiden O'Connell.
I thought that initially, right? But what I said was, you made your decision, you made that bed, now you got to lay in it. Like, because if Gardner's out and you throw Aiden in there, that's who you're running with for the rest of the season.
Right.
Like, you cannot set the bar here and then change it and then change it back. I don't see that. So me personally, I would have loved to see Aiden out there, but I've been saying give Gardner all the chances in the world to go out there and correct this thing, because, you know, once we see Aiden, Gardner's gone.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that sucks with Gardner Minshew, and this isn't like for us, right? But like for Gardner Minshew himself, you know, it's he got a starting opportunity with the Raiders, but unfortunately his offensive coach happened to be Luke Getsy.
Yeah.
Right, his offensive coordinator. And I don't remember what came first. Did we sign Gardner first, or did we bring the coach?
We had Getsy already in the building.
Okay. Yeah,
because Gardner came over when we had Telesco already, right? So, and Luke was here before Telesco came, because I remember that was a big thing that we were talking about. Like, we already got our offensive coordinator. We got, you know what I mean? And then we went and got Tom Telesco, I believe. Wasn't that wasted?
Wasn't Telesco part of the AP hire?
Wait, hold on. No. Hold on.
I could have swore.
Wait, hold on. Luke Getsy hire date. I'm going to bring it up.
Yeah, because I don't think that he was the one that had anything to do with how. Because remember, we had Cliff Kingsbury in the building already, and Tom wasn't in the building. Champ Kelly was with me.
Now Luke Getsy was hired on February the 26th.
Yeah,
I mean, the 6th, right? Tom Telesco.
Getsy was first, I believe. Because remember those conversations, Seymour, Champ Kelly, AP. There was a specific unit that came in order to bring in Tom
Telesco was hired first. He was hired January the 23rd.
Was he?
Okay.
Yeah, January 23rd.
Okay, then, man, I'm way off. I could have sworn. But you know why? I think I'm thrown off by the whole Cliff Kingsbury discussion and all that other stuff. But go on, no, brother.
So, you know, it sucks because I think a lot of Raider fans are blaming the Raiders' offensive struggles on Gardner Minshew. Right? I think everybody's saying, oh, Gardner Minshew's the reason why the Raiders suck. To me, I put the most blame on the offensive line, and then I put the blame on the running back. Then I'll put blame on the offensive scheme, and then I think that's where Gardner Minshew's at. Right? I think Minshew would be the fourth guy, and I say that because, you know, I see Sam Darnold balling with Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah.
Right. I see Matt LaFleur put in Malik Willis, and he's winning games. He's 2-0 with Malik Willis. Yeah. Right? I see great offensive coordinators, great play callers, making quarterbacks that are, you know, basically Gardner Minshew caliber quarterbacks, and they're winning games, right? To me, the Raiders
Justin Fields, Angie, 3-0.
Right, exactly. And you know, you look at you know, you to take that a step further, you know, you look at the Raiders right now, people think Aiden O'Connell's going to come in and he's going to just ball and bam, everything's fixed. But what's going to happen is if you bring in Aiden O'Connell, he's going to have the same struggles that Gardner Minshew's having, right? Gardner Minshew's going to get benched. Aiden O'Connell is going to come in, and then our guard's still going to get their ass kicked, right? Our routes are still going to be shitty designed routes. Our running game's still not going to work. And then, you know, Aiden O'Connell is going to be asked to bail us out, right? And Aiden Connell's not fast, right? We know he's not going to make plays with his legs. He's going to get pressured. He's going to throw bad passes and throw interceptions. To me, you're setting up Aiden Connell to fail at that point, right? I think what would make a lot more sense is let's go 4 or 5 more weeks with Gardner Minshew, right? And at that point, by week 7, 8, or 9, whenever that point comes, if our offensive line's actually showing us that they're consistently having success, if we have a running back that can pick up at least 20 yards on a carry, because we haven't had that yet, have we? We haven't had a running. Have we even had a run play more than like 9 yards? Wow. It's everything about our offense is terrible, and it's not just Gardner Minshew, right? So saying let's just go forward Aiden Connell, that's not going to fix anything.
Yeah, no, and that's why I said stick with Gardner Minshew. He's already starting to build a rapport, with everybody out there. And this thing takes time. Sanjay, we know this, right? You have a new quarterback, you have a new system, you have a new offensive coordinator, offensive line coach. This thing does take time, but the thing is, we're not seeing this thing get better by every week. That's the problem. If we're seeing some, progressive, I'm like, okay, cool, we have something to work with. This thing looks like it's getting worse.
I'm going to be honest with you. One of the reasons why I think that, at this point, I would prefer a change is because, Gardner Minshew is a younger quarterback who is a pocket guy, right? But he makes decisions and processes a little faster. I don't think that you'll get the same game from a Gardner Minshew that you're going to get from an Aiden O'Connell. Now, I know that the offensive line is paramount, but getting the football, there's something to be said about getting the football out faster to make this offensive line look better than they actually are. Derek Carr did it for years. Right. Mm-hmm. And I think that Aiden O'Connell is that style of quarterback where a lot of times we'll be upset at the fact that, damn, he's not letting anything develop. He's just getting the ball out. But sometimes offense needs to get in a rhythm. And I think the fact that Gardner Minshew is always looking to go downfield, and that's a part of him that I love, right? But sometimes he puts us behind the sticks a lot of the times because he's not willing to just make the decision and get rid of the ball.
Yeah.
Right. I tend to disagree. Right now, if you want for the season to derail and careen off the cliff, that's one thing, right? And that's not what any of us want. But I think there are two things that are at play here, right? We have a Jackson Powers Johnson who really, in the offseason, when they were making their plans for this offensive line, I'm sure that Cody Whitehair was not the guy that they wanted to start, right? So with JPJ getting more snaps, I think that this unit as a whole gets better, right? And I also think that, DJ Glaze is a guy that has impressed since the Senior Bowl, all the way up through preseason. Mm-hmm. He's going to get a baptism by fire this weekend. But if he can hold up against a guy like a Myles Garrett, who is hobbled, right, that could be a confidence builder. And you can have two physical young guys who can kind of open up things for us up front, right? Yeah. So I think bringing in an Aiden O'Connell opens things up in a way where I don't think Aiden O'Connell misses some of those guys that Gardner Minshew's missed. I've noticed in some of the tape that I've watched, Gardner Minshew is missing guys that are wide open. It's not all just shitty play design. I don't like this notion that it's all not Tom Leslie, but Luke Getsy. I don't like that.
No, there's multiple things that go into this. And speaking of DJ Glaze, put Harrison Bryant over there, the veteran tight end, and chip away. Get as much help as you can over there on that right side. But I think this is a perfect chance for DJ Glaze to make some noise at the next level. I do believe that JPJ, and let me know what you think about this, Sanjay. Why they have him at right guard is specifically putting Parham back at left guard, where Kolton looked a lot better with him there. You know what I mean? Maybe this is trying to help Kolton Miller as well as put getting JPJ out there as well. You know what I mean? So I think that, but let's read some supers real quick, you guys, and we'll get back to the show. Salute to WI. I love y'all, but I'm too tired of the negative talk. Aren't we Raiders? Next man up, get your chin strap and let's run it. Being a Raider is a mentality. Let the league know who we are. Raiders. Salute to my guy, Joe. AP's business decision comment struck a nerve. You know what? Good. Get this diva shit off my Raiders and bring in players, not businessmen. Salute to my guy, Joe. Salute to the Mokes. AOC MVP incoming. Talk that talk, the Mokes. Salute to Chris as well. Do you guys think we'll see Jack Jones at all? No, not at all. You're not going to see Jack Jones out there. There's no reason for that. I know
crazy, man. That'd be crazy.
They were playing around with it at OTAs and in training camp, and he had a lot of reps at wide receiver and special teams in high school. and stuff like that. But I don't think you want your number one corner to go out there and play more than what he needs to. If we lose a Jack Jones, we are in trouble. You know what I mean? So, I mean, what do y'all think? Do you think that somehow, some way they can get credit? I mean, we already got guys like Tyree McAllister that's not even active right now.
Nah. We have too many guys that have talent. I just want to get back to something real quick, not to derail the show, but a lot of people talk about AP calling out this team, right? Mm-hmm. And I said as soon as it happened, right? To me, the one thing that Antonio Pierce is and had was the fact that he's a player coach. He's a guy that the team is supposed to trust, right? I think by him doing it the way he did it, he lost a lot of credibility and trust from the guys who actually got him hired. It's not the fact of what you say, but it's how you say it. It's how you address it. Adults don't address things in social media, and going to the media is the actual media. I think that was Bush League, and I think that there's an amount of maturity that I think that AP kind of lacks. Right. Some of the ways that he calls games, some of the things that he's done, it's things that Bill Belichick or a coach that is established. You don't see Andy Reid calling people out in the media.
No, I agree, but you know how I feel about AP, Wasted, right? He was my third option going into the season. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, but this is the thing. This is the way of the world in today's world. These young kids, that's the way they know how to interact. They get it publicly. They get it on Twitter. They get it on Instagram. They get it on whatever apps they use. Look, this is the only way you can talk to these young pups. It's not like the old days where our coaches could put their arms around us behind closed doors and say, "Look, man, buckle up, man. We need you out there."
Look, as the old man on the panel, the more things change, the more they stay the same. That you never lower yourself to the level of guys that are younger than you. You always bring it here to get them to where they need to be. I'm never going to lower myself and chastise my children on social media because that's the way of the world. That's bullshit.
Well, I mean, that's your children. Though.
Yeah, but children, younger people, listen, even in my personal life, my life, Graf. I'm always in a leadership position wherever I am, whether I'm at work, home, wherever, right? Yeah. I never deal with people on a level that people deal on today because it's not right. It just ain't right. You got to set and lead the example and make these guys men.
No, definitely.
You 45, 46 years old. That's not how men deal with each other. You do it face to face, bro. I think that's bullshit, bro. I don't like that he did that.
Did you read the body language as well today at his presser? It was so out. Yeah. Like AP just seems defeated right now, man. It just seems like, and then we go back to that look at the Carolina Panthers when Marvin Lewis was in front of him, and it looked like he was the one calling the show. It's like I don't know if AP.
He looked like Day on next Friday.
Bro,
like Daddy, what we gonna do, Daddy?
Yeah, he looks overwhelmed right now. But Sanjay, I want to ask you, man, with DJ Glaze, and now I'm assuming that JPJ is going to be out there starting. I don't know how you keep him off the field. You are the tape guy, man. Have you done some homework on these two guys? And what did you think about those reps? And how do you think that this O-line fares, more importantly, in the ground game, going into this game against the Cleveland Browns out at Allegiant Stadium?
Yeah, I think Cody Whitehair's our worst offensive lineman, right? And we need to replace him. Yep. So I am shocked to see that Dylan Parham was the one that was taken out. Now, you mentioned it. Maybe it was because they feel like, hey, we're going to put Paris Johnson in at right guard. Mm-hmm. Maybe they feel like, hey, Dylan Parham doesn't look as good at right guard. Or maybe they feel like, hey, we're going to go ahead and put Andres Pete in at left guard. Right? Because that's always a possibility as well. Mm-hmm. I think Cody Whitehair is a bad. I've been saying this, man. I don't like him. He is not a good football player. And the thing is, he's just weak. He gets pushed back. And this is why I continuously say, you can have Aiden O'Connell out there, you can have Gardner Minshew out there. It won't matter if Cody Whitehair is your starting left guard, right? There was, in fact, a play in which Aiden O'Connell almost threw 2 interceptions. In 15 snaps he had.
Yes,
right. One was a pass to Michael Mayer, which was a high pass because he got essentially pressured,
and the red zone.
Right, and then the other one was in the red zone, and that was because they went in a true 5-man protection, right? So he knew the ball needs to come out, or he's going to take a hit. So he got the ball out quickly, and he almost threw an interception on that one. The offensive line has to get fixed, right? And I think Jackson Powers Johnson, I don't want to overhype him. I've already kind of done that this week, but Jackson Powers Johnson looks legit to me, man. Like really, really legit. Yeah. And the thing is if you watch DJ Glaze, for example, DJ Glaze had probably 8 or 9 plays this week that he lost. Right, he legit lost. Now, we might not have felt him, right? I think the only one we really recognized was the one where he gave up the sack. There are other plays where, the ball comes out, half a second later, the quarterback gets hit.
Yeah.
Right. We don't see those plays because they might not impact the actual play, but those plays impact the quarterback, right? Mentally, it's gonna impact the quarterback. DJ Glaze probably had like 8 or 9 losing snaps. They weren't all quarterback hits, right? Some were like run plays, some were like he lost, but the ball was out. The guy never touched the quarterback.
Yeah.
I think, I'm not a fan of Thayer Munford as well, right?
You never have been either. You've always said that.
Right. And I think to be fair, I think Thayer Munford today is probably better than DJ Glaze, right? If you're going to put one of those guys up against Myles Garrett, Thayer Munford's most likely to have more success, right, today. But I don't think his ceiling's that high, nor do I think he's going to ever become a guy that's going to be a full-time starting tackle. I do think DJ Glaze is worse than Thayer Munford, but I think in 3 or 4 or 5 weeks with the reps, he could easily be better.
Okay.
Right. I think he has a higher upside, but he's probably not there right now. And we got to be realistic. If Myles Garrett takes 60 snaps against DJ Glaze and they're one-on-one snaps, they won't be right. We'll be double teaming and doing those type of things. But if they're one-on-one snaps, DJ Glaze is going to lose more than half of those. Right.
Okay.
Andrew Thomas, I'm sure the Giants tackle.
Yeah. He balled last night, bro.
Right. He's a great tackle, right? He had his worst game of his career last week against Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
Myles Garrett beat the crap out of him, right?
He looked great against Michael Parsons and company last night, though. He looked phenomenal.
Right, right. But
that's a different beast.
No, I know.
Right. But Myles Garrett's a different type of player, right? He's kicking Andrew Thomas's ass. He's gonna come out and beat the shit out of DJ Glaze. Right. So the Raiders better have a plan for that, man. They better be double teaming on every single play.
Salute the 10 Commandments. This one's for Sanjit, and I want to add to this as well. Didn't you think that Minshew was leaving the pocket too soon? His pocket presence and poise was non-existent. Now, Sanjit, I have to say this because I agree with 10 Commandments, because when you look at some of this tape, he holds on to the ball too long. There's wide open receivers. Multiple times I've seen Brock Bowers in the middle of the field, and I'm like, why are you not looking his way? There's been times where I've seen DAVANTE wide open. I've seen a few reps where I'm like, Trey Tucker, what are you doing? What do you say to that? Him holding on to or leaving the pocket and holding the football too long?
He does get out of the pocket too quickly sometimes.
Yeah,
that is a fact. But we also have to recognize, we're not NFL quarterbacks. Right? We don't have that vision that this guy has. Sometimes the guys might seem like they're open, but there could be a safety right there that could easily break on the football. Your wide receiver might take a big hit. You're not throwing those passes, right? And I'm not saying he doesn't miss things, because he does miss things. That is a fact. I've also stated this before. I think Aiden Connell's a much better passer of the football, right? He's
quicker, yeah.
Right. And that's all great, but there's always those times when your run game, our run game on 1st and 2nd down averages like 2.5 yards.
Nasty. Yeah.
Right. So we're always going to be in a 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7. We're always going to be in those moments.
Yeah.
And
when you don't trust your offensive line, Sanjit, you're probably trying to get the hell out the pocket anyway as well, because you know what I mean.
Then that's another thing, right? Is if you don't trust your offensive line and you're in a 3rd and 8, you're not running. Not every play is designed in a way where it's like, there's a guy 30 yards on the left side and a guy 4 yards on the left side, a guy that's 4 yards in the middle and 30 yards to the right. It's not, NFL offense isn't designed like that. You're going to have 2 or 3 reads to one side, and then every other guy's an influence route or a check down, right? And then there's some plays specifically that Luke Getsy calls where they're 20, 30-yard shot plays, and there's no check down. Our guys are just blocking essentially. Right. And in those moments, you might not have an option to get the ball out quickly. And you might end up getting sacked because of the fact that they're deep design plays. Yeah. Right? So I think there's a lot of things. And that's on Luke Getsy too, right? Getsy has to, one of the things that Luke Getsy will do, and it's crazy to me, is, if Myles Garrett's out there, he'll treat Myles Garrett like it's Tyree Wilson, right? Like he won't change up his game plan. He won't call plays differently because Myles Garrett is out there. He'll just call his plays as he does. Right. And to me, he's not situationally aware. And that's one of the things that I feel like he has to get better at.
Wasted. In terms of Myles Garrett, you can't really stop him, right? You can just hope to kind of contain him. What is your game plan right now with Minshew out there and Luke Getsy calling
it? Protect Jumbo. You gotta maybe do like we used to do back in the day, bring in an extra down lineman, bring them in the backfield. You know what I mean? Like, don't even try to pretend that that extra guard, like Jordan Meredith, or one of those guys you put back there, are actually going to catch the football. Like, it is a well-known fact that this guy's an eligible receiver, but he is a lineman to stop the draft. That's it. Like, there's no games to be played. This sometimes, man, you got to put, a hat on a hat, and you got to be physical. And the Raiders are going to lose that battle with a freak of nature like Myles Garrett 100 times out of 100. Now, I've seen Sanjeet on Twitter say that Myles Garrett is the best defensive player he's ever seen. You're saying that because you're very, very young. And
Lawrence Taylor?
Lawrence Taylor, Reggie White. There's so many people I can.
I didn't watch those guys, so
look, man. Listen,
Lawrence Taylor was a different monster. He's
not even just Lawrence Taylor. Reggie White, Reggie, the Minister of Defense, Bruce Smith. Like, stop it. Yeah. Shit, Derek Thomas. Come on, bro.
There was a lot of monsters.
A lot of monsters, right?
But Howie Long out there too, a great Raider as well.
Howie's great, but I'm just saying, I'm talking about them guys were different, right? So, but when I see a Myles Garrett is hurt. And the one thing that Myles Garrett does not have is Myles Garrett is not technically the greatest lineman. He's more of a physical. He's a freak of nature, right? All you got to do is put somebody out there, and I'm not saying it's going to stop him, but you got to slow this guy down. Because if you put that rookie out there against him and leave him on an island 80 to 90% of the time, Myles Garrett's going to have.
They're not going to do that. They're just not going to do that, man. They're going to double team him 100% of the time. Right, they'll put a tight end out there, or they'll put a running back out there, and he'll always chip on every play.
Treat him like Aaron Donald. Treat him like Aaron. And Aaron Donald's another guy that I think is a little better than Myles Garrett too.
Let me clarify, man, because a lot of people are like, "Hey, what do you think about Aaron?" I think Aaron Donald's the greatest defensive tackle I've ever watched. Right, I've been watching football for about 20 years. Yeah. Right, maybe a little longer than that. He's the greatest defensive tackle I've ever watched. And Myles Garrett's the greatest defensive end I've ever watched. Yeah,
because I keep forgetting you so much.
You guys are in the same category for me, right?
Man, stop making us feel like we old as shit, man. Because we are.
What an asshole, man. I mean, we have a show, we're being polite, and you just make me feel like Grandpa wasted again, Sanji. What an asshole.
I'm going to go get my false teeth here in a second. I'm going to be off the screen for a split second. But
thank you. Go ahead, man.
No. Hey, real quick.
Little effort then.
I believe that Brian Flores has catapulted himself ahead of Graham for the next head coaching spot. Your thoughts? He has had that Minnesota Vikings defense look really good under a lot of storms, and they had a lot of players injured. Rest in paradise to Kyrie Jackson. They lost one of their corners this offseason. He was supposed to have a big, he was supposed to represent that team big this year on the defense side of the ball. I definitely believe that Brian Flores, and I know all of the talk out of Miami and so on and so forth about we know all the talk, right, about the Brian Flores situation. He definitely deserves another shot, man. He has been phenomenal out there in Minnesota. But once again, you just got done talking about their head coach / OC. He is a great mind. For him to be able to do what he's doing with Sam Darnold, Jordan Addison out and Jefferson still cooking, man, they just have a well-oiled machine up there in Minnesota, man. They're firing on all cylinders. And Flores is definitely a major part of that.
Dollar for dollar, the best coaching staff in the league.
Facts.
Dollar for dollar.
Brian Flores is a great defensive coach, man. It's crazy. Scheme-wise, it's just different.
Yeah. I mean, look, we can't put them over Andy Reid and Kansas City Chiefs, but they're right there, right?
Right.
The thing about Brian Flores, when you talk about him being a head coach, I don't think the league is going to be kind to defensive head coaches. There was a time where it was like 3 years where it was like nasty work. Nobody was hiring defensive head coaches. And if you look at the teams that are winning, you have all of these bright offensive minds. They're all children of Mike Shanahan. Yeah. And they're just spreading all over the league.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't see a team going out there and hiring a defensive head coach. I just don't. Besides us.
So you guys think if you think there's a chance the Raiders fire Antonio Pierce at the end of this year?
It depends on if this gets a little 4-12-ish.
Oh yeah,
man.
If it gets 4-12-ish, look.
Well, let's just say 4-13-ish because they added another game. So.
Yeah, I'm old. All right, so if it gets 4-13,
then you go showing your age. So according to Wasted right now, the AFC West consists of the Raiders, the Seahawks, the Chiefs, and the Broncos.
That's right.
So you remember
a little Jim Zorn here.
Good days,
Largent
days. Hey, I want to ask you guys real quick because we're hurting right now. Cleveland's hurting right now. That injury report looked insane all week long. Like It was absolutely crazy. How do you beat this team without Davante Adams, without MAXX CROSBY? Max is leading us in sacks. Davante has, I believe, 209 yards this year. He's leading us in receiving yards. I think he has like 18 receptions, tied with Brock Bowers. How do we get it going on the offense side of the ball? And I want to ask Sanjeet real quick this. We've been running zone. Do you get to power, or Do you just say, you know what, give Alexander Madison the number one running back this week, and let's just see what we have? And is there any guys that you would like to elevate, some playmakers like a Laube or a Tyreek McAllister to add some firepower? Even Ramel Keaton, the UEF out of Tennessee, we can use another big body on the boundary. What do we need to do this week?
I think Alexander Madison's the guy that would really help us, right? Okay. But more than that, we got to fix the offensive line, right? Yeah. It starts with the offensive line. No matter what, it's going to start with the offensive line.
Definitely.
I don't think Zamir White's a good running back, and I think the reason why is because of the fact that he's not quick, right? So Zamir White, if he sees a gap, he's going to go into that gap. Yep. He won't see a second gap open up in the B gap and jump cut into that B gap. He won't do that, right? And there's not a lot of running backs that would, right? There's probably like 12 running backs that could do that.
Yeah.
But you got to get a guy that is more dynamic, right? And to me, it didn't make sense last week that we said, hey, we're going to go away from that zone scheme. We're going to run what works. We're going to run power. Yeah. Right? That didn't make sense to me. Why are we switching up our scheme? Why wouldn't we switch up our running back? Right? Like, that doesn't really make sense, because there were a handful of plays on tape that you could watch, right? Where Zamir White is missing gaps.
Yeah.
Right. And even this week against Panthers, it was the same thing, man. He misses gaps here or there. It's not 100% on Zamir White. So I'm not saying that, right? Different things on different plays, but you got to at least make sure your running back's able to hit the right lane, right?
Is this an ego thing, Sanjeet? Is this we allowed Josh Jacobs to walk because we thought Zamir was going to be the guy, so we're going to keep trying to stick this square peg into this? Like, do you think this what it is? Because like you said, why change the scheme? And you got 5 people up front that you're literally changing their whole for one.
Right. It doesn't make sense, man. And look, moving on from Josh wasn't the wrong decision. The wrong decision was not getting a running back in the second or third round. Right. That was the bad decision. You should have gotten one of the best running backs coming out.
Yeah.
There's good running backs that come out every year, right? You got to get a guy that's a difference maker. But you got to fix the offensive line, right? I think it's going to start right there.
Yeah.
Guys, I totally disagree. I think that you have to tailor your scheme to the players that you have on the roster. Now, to me, I don't think it's a bad move to go back to power, because that's how he was successful last year. Mm-hmm. You saw those flashes of greatness last year, and I don't want to see them in week 3 go away from a guy that's as physically talented as Zamir White. When you have a guy that has that home run threat, has that speed, that power, that size, that is not a stone that you leave unturned until you know for a fact that he
has Zamir ever proven, though. Has he ever proven to us that he's a home run guy? So I've never seen it. I've seen like 3 runs that he's had that were big runs that school his entire numbers.
I think that was the wrong word to use, home run ability.
Whoa, listen.
Josh Jacobs had home run ability. We've seen it against Seattle to win the game. We've never seen a big Zamir.
Look, the thing is, when you look now, listen, we could sit up here, we could talk about stats, but just from the eye test, right? You could see how fast that guy is, how powerful he is. And a lot of this is a thing where, you can't be successful and have home runs if you're not playing. He played behind Josh Jacobs, is one of the best running backs in football. And I think that you have to water that plant. There are a lot of guys in this league, man, initially don't look so great. And then as they grow, and this is just from me watching this league a long time, right? There's some running backs that people will call him for their head, and he's not productive. I mean, we've seen a league where Marshawn Lynch got traded out of Buffalo.
But we question his vision and power.
You're right. So that's a good point. Is Zamir White, being fast and being strong, that doesn't matter, in my opinion. All right. What matters is, because Josh Jacobs isn't that fast. What matters is your vision and your ability to change direction, right? Like, if you're running between a center and guard, and then the hole opens up between the tackle and guard,
hit the hole.
You got to hit the hole. But you got to have the ability to see that and be able to make that change. I don't think Zamir White has that. He just doesn't look quick to me in that instance. Now, he might have 40-yard straight line speed.
Yeah.
Does that really matter, though, if you're a running back, right?
Well, you got to get out to that straight line. Sanjeev, I totally understand what you're saying, right? But I think, vision and experience is a learned behavior a lot of the time. Sometimes it's natural. Sometimes you have people like Gale Sayers, Barry Sanders, guys like, who had great vision. I'm going to throw a name out there. Clinton Portis, great vision. But there are other running backs where it takes time to develop. I don't see I'm saying Josh Jacobs, my God, Zamir. I don't see him being Trent Richardson. I see him being a guy that he will get better as he plays. Now, is it hard to be better than Alexander Madison? No. And that's the thing. It's not like we have a guy that you can really trot out there to be a starting running back, because Madison is a guy who is best when he is not the number one guy. We saw what that looked like in Minnesota, bro.
Right.
I don't want to see it. This guy was a turnover machine when he was your main bell cow back. Now, the thing is, with Zamir White, I want to see how good he is. So if he's not any good, even in the middle of the season, sit him down and go on the scrap heap and bring in another. Go bring in Sam McCormick. Bring somebody else in. But I want to have a definitive answer on Zamir White, and I don't think we've ever gotten that. Let him continue to play, man. That's just way. I want a definitive answer on a lot of these young players.
I could agree with that. I do think that if the offensive line, I'll say 100% of the time they do a good job, maybe Zamir White wouldn't be the issue in that instance, right? And we'll find out, right? We'll find out. I'm sure the offensive line will get fixed sometime soon.
Salute to Ten Commanders. Last comment. I have to skate. I believe we need to play this game in a 6-0 line, set 50% of the game. Your thoughts? I think we already talked about that, previously, 10 Commandments, in terms of getting that extra blocker on the right side to help the young pup and DJ Glaze, right? So, yeah. I mean, I think I agree. I think I have to agree with you. I mean, 50%, that's a lot, though. You know what I mean?
Well, another thing we got to keep in mind, though, too, is I don't think Luke Getsy's scheme is designed to have a sixth offensive lineman in there, right? Like, I don't think we put a sixth offensive lineman in yet.
He hasn't, not one time.
So, sometimes I think people think that, like, you can just put six guys in and then you can just continue calling your offense and it'll just work. It's not going to work like that, right? There's certain guys that come in and then you run a certain play and it's designed with certain guys, right? And then you can run a different formation or a different play and you can only call certain plays out of certain formations.
Yeah.
And which is another thing that Wasted was saying, right? He was saying that, hey, run the scheme that best fits your running back, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the unfortunate things is Luke Getsy's a zone guy, right? His scheme is built around zone. So every play action bootleg, it's not a power-based bootleg, right? A lot of the times it's a wide action, right? He's going to try stretching the football and it's going to play action and bootleg the other way, right? Sometimes your offense is built around certain concepts that you might not just be able to get away from.
Yeah. Salute to the boss on becoming a member on all three channels. We appreciate you, brother. Real talk, man. Salute to you for the support. Salute to S. Dice. When you run Zamir off tackle, everybody will shut their mouth. Salute to my guy S. Dot, man. He's another guy that loves the trenches and loves to talk the trenches. Salute to everybody here in the building. As always, we appreciate every single one of you guys for rocking with us. All right, let's start here with our brother Wasted, man. Keys to victory come Sunday, man. We're missing a few guys, and that's kind of an understatement at this point. Davante Adams hamstring out, MAXX CROSBY ankle out, Thayer Munford knee/ankle out, Divine Diablo oblique out, Mayer personal reasons, and then DCAM is still out with the hamstring. He hasn't played it down yet since being drafted in the 4th round. Keys to victory here, Wasted, against this lowly Cleveland Browns team who needs a win desperately the way we need one.
Hey man, listen, if they're lowly, we right in the basement along with them right now, right? So I don't listen. This is even Steven, man. So what I'm looking at is, one, protect the football. You have no reason to turn this football over. I would rather see Gardner Minshew throw a worm burner into the ground on 3rd down and throw it to the sideline than to risk turning the football over. So they have to take care of the football, right, and get back to basic football, down and distance, and stay ahead of the chains. We need to establish the running game. I know we've been saying that all week, but I think they need to be more creative in the way they establish the run game, i.e. Trey Tucker, getting him out of the backfield, little razzle dazzle, right? Zamir White, getting him out there in space and getting him, some sweeps. Get him out there so you can take advantage of some of that speed and that size, right? Kind of scheming to the ability of your guys. And Brock Bowers is a guy that's going to live in the middle of the football field. And I'm going to need for Gardner Minshew to play within the framework of his offense and stop trying to break towards the sideline all the time.
Yeah, every damn time, man.
Drop back, 2-3-step drops, get the football out, take what the defense gives you. Now, Al Davis used to say, we don't take what the defense gives us, we take what we want. Yeah. We're not at liberty to do that without Davante Adams. You take what the defense gives you, stay within the framework of your offense, move the chains down in distance, and make sure that you're punting. And I don't want to see any Antonio Pierce emotional 4th and 2 on the wrong side of the field nonsense. Yeah. And if they do that, they can definitely win this game. If you play disciplined football, you can beat a Browns team that is hobbled, that has not been very disciplined this year.
And I assume they're gonna bracket Brock a lot. You know what I mean? This is another reason why I said that I would love to see a few of our playmakers activated. And this is the last time I'm going to say this. The Tyreek McAllisters of the world, you put the football in his hand, great things can happen, right? You bring in a guy like Dylan Lowby because of this pass catching ability that we drafted out of New Hampshire, where he was not been activated yet. You know what I mean? Like, we need to see this offense get a little creative here without Davante Adams. Keys to victory, Sanji.
Yeah, you know, one of the things I feel like I noted with our offense is when the game's 0-0 or it's tied 7-7 or whatever it is, our offense, I feel like, cannot like play and have success unless they're down by like 2 touchdowns. I feel like I have yet to see our offense have success
Man.
down. You know, so I need and I don't know, you know, I feel like even against the Panthers, you know, the first drive we went 3 and out. On the second drive of the game, we scored a touchdown, right, which included that big play to Trey Tucker.
Yeah.
And then I think even the very next drive, we went all the way down to like the 39-yard line on their side. And then we went for it on 4th down. Cody Whitehair got pushed back. But I think we were on like a 3rd and 7, and we ran the football for whatever reason, picked up 3 yards, went for it. And I feel like that's kind of when the game kind of started to get away from us a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? Because if we scored there, I think the score would have been 14-14. Right, or if we kicked the field goal, it'd been 10-14.
Mm-hmm.
That's a momentum shifter, you know. So to me, I think the Raiders and Wasted 100% correct. Antonio Pierce has to call a good game because there's always questionable decisions. Going for it on your side of the field doesn't make sense. No. 4th and 4. Why are you going for it on 4th and 4? That doesn't make sense either.
Yeah.
Right. Antonio Pierce has to call a clean game, and our offense has to be able to play from up, or you know, as the score is 0-0, they got to score points. Right, they got to be consistent because our defense isn't going to win us the game this week.
No,
right. Marcus Epps is hurt, so we're questionable there. Jack Jones hasn't looked great.
Yeah,
we're questionable there.
Yeah,
and Jack Jones isn't terrible. You know, he takes his shot. He wants to try picking.
He gave up 2 touchdowns. Sanjay, like, yeah.
But the thing with Jack Jones is he's like Trayvon Diggs, right? These guys want to try to
aggressive,
right? But the thing is if a quarterback baits you and beats you, then you're going to give up touchdowns, and we can't have that. Mm-hmm. Right. Our defensive line, like, I don't even know who's going to start, you know, like literally who's, you know, Christian Wilkins has to step the hell up this week, as well as Adam Butler. Those 2 guys got to get after it.
Yeah. I think you're going to see Adam Butler at defensive end sometimes too.
Definitely.
You know, Adam Butler can do both.
And I think Tyrese going to be swapped back and forth as well.
Yeah,
a lot.
That's what it should be. And it should be an NJS special, because I'm going to be honest with you, Nessa J. Silvera, you know, I like his fight. I like his motor. I have not been impressed with John Jenkins' motor this year. He is
getting up there. He's 36, 37.
He's looking every bit of 36, 37 years old this year. Yeah. Now, this is one thing I want to say before we get out of here real quick. Sanjay, I want to ask you something. You know, with Getsy scheme being that outside zone, right? That offense from the 49ers to the Green Bay Packers to going all the way back to the Denver Broncos always featured a fullback. You don't think that there's any concepts where he can bring in a fullback as that extra lineman, essentially?
He had one in Chicago last year.
I think Brock Bowers has played a little bit of fullback. Same with like Harrison Bryant. Like, they'll line up at the fullback position.
Yeah.
But we don't have a true fullback, right? So, you know, there's definitely plays where like Harrison Bryant misses his block, and that's the guy that blows the play up. Or Michael Mayer, right? He's being asked to make a block, and they're lined up at the fullback position. So,
So Jordan Meredith at fullback as your extra lineman gets sneaky.
Interesting.
do a little
right
of what we did when we had John Feliciano here. Now that's a whole nother cast of guys, but we used to do that a lot with the Raiders, especially when Derek Carr broke his ribs that year.
Yep.
When they were trying to protect him. You have to treat this game that way, because if we don't do that with Myles Garrett, Gardner Minshew will get his ribs broken.
Yeah. I'm going to say this, man. I think the way this defense has to show up without MAXX CROSBY, and there's 3 names to me that has to set the tone defensively this week. I'm done with the whole Merrick experiment. I'm done saying week in and week out that Trayvon's going to be the guy to step up. I'm done with that. I'm looking at 3 veteran guys, and one of them still really young, but Christian Wilkins has to have a big game for us. He has to show that he's worth that $100 million contract. And I'm talking about in terms of productivity as getting to the quarterback, just playing a run game. He has to send a message this week without MAXX CROSBY out there. Keep doing Spill things. Keep being that guy at linebacker that's getting after the quarterback, that's dropping back and cover. Spill has done it all for us. He's been one of the only blessings in disguise on this roster on both sides of the football. And then Nate Hobbs, you know what I mean? One of our best downhill tacklers. He plays the run game pretty good. I want to see him get a little more active in the passing game this week. Those are the three guys defensively that I think need to set the tone for everybody else around them in order for this defense to come up with a few turnovers, because Deshaun Watson is looking very shaky. And just like Sanjay said, this is, I think, who he is now. I think all the noise, I think the years off from football have caught up to him. And I just think that he's cooked. But you cannot allow Deshaun Watson to display his athleticism because he's still an athlete. The guy, he's mobile. If you allow him to get out the pocket and extend plays with his legs, he will do so, and he will cook you for it. You have to keep him in that pocket, shake him up. We got to find some type of pass rush without Max and Malcolm, and it starts with Christian Wilkins. I'm telling you now, Tyree, I want to give him some flowers, but he is married to me right now on the defensive line. I've kind of given up. I'm just like, you know what? I just haven't seen it. And I know you break down tape left and right, Sanjay. I've watched him, and it's hard for me to even find a snap where I'm like, God, man, you know, Tyree, okay, he's starting to show some development. I'm struggling with that. And I don't know if he's going to be able to do it this week.
He looked a little bit better against Carolina, for sure. I think it's probably his best game that I've seen him have.
Yeah. He was a day late and $1 short, though.
Right. No, we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. But a good thing is the Browns, Wyatt Teller's out, right? All-pro guard, he's out. And then I think both of their tackles are out. Yeah. Right. So that's a positive for the Raiders, right? And then Brian Callahan's not there. So we don't know the next guys if they're going to step up and have the same type of success. But they do have weapons. So our secondary has to be ready. Right. We got that change with Isaiah Paul-Now now coming in, being the full-time starter.
I'm excited about him. Excited.
Right. I am too. We'll see. You guys think that at the end of the day we'll be able to beat the Cleveland Browns? You guys think that we're not going to, like, our offense is going to be the same shit, right? Offense struggles, defense gives up big plays. Or do you guys think we have a realistic shot to beat this team?
I think we can beat them. I think 17-13, low-scoring game. I think it's going to be ugly, but I think we can definitely get a Daniel Carlson special, you know, in the fourth quarter with a minute or so left, and we can come out with a victory. Hey, look, without Max and DAVANTE, I'm not expecting this team to go blow the doors off the Cleveland Browns. Right. Yeah, I even with them, I'm not expecting that at this point. You know what I mean? But I think this can be a close game. And like David V said, battle with the depth. You know, like the trenches, whoever wins the trenches, and it's kind of easy to say it, right? Because that's every game. But I think that's what's going to win. In Cleveland, with that old line being that beat up, man, there's no reason why Snowden, J-Rob, who struggle with penalties, these guys have to find a way to get to Watson. But go ahead, Wasted.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, we have two teams that are decimated by injuries, right? Yeah. The difference is that the sum of Cleveland's parts is a lot less than the Raiders, right? Even though we are missing Davante Adams and MAXX CROSBY, that's huge. But the injuries, they have probably more than a third of their offensive line out.
Yeah.
So we're pretty much playing against the backup of the backup, right? And then also you have a situation with a Deshaun Watson where he is a rudderless quarterback at this point in his career. Yeah. He is a guy that, you know, if he is not able to rise to the occasion and beat this football team, you're going to have to entertain benching a $230 million quarterback.
I mean, the guy hasn't thrown for over 200 yards yet this season.
Crazy, dude.
The problem is that it just kind of seems like the Raiders make everyone look good. Let's hope that we don't get vintage Deshaun Watson against the Raiders this week.
Yeah. And mind you guys, this offense has not scored over 20 points all season long. And they faced, you know, the Cowboys have been struggling. You know what I mean? They don't look like the same team. The Giants have been terrible. They look like they're starting to kind of put it together a little bit. And they played the lowly Jaguars as well. And he threw no touchdowns in that game. A completion rate of 64.7, QB rating of 78.8. Like, I'm just saying, like, Deshaun Watson is a shell of himself. Like, he is not the same guy. But what did you say? Like, Wasted, like, Andy Dalton is a shell of himself, and he went out there and carved us up So you never know.
Look, I just hope that this is like the Space Jam version of Deshaun Watson, where he touched the football and took all his abilities. He can't play anymore. I don't need for him to touch the football and get all his abilities back.
Yeah,
we don't need that.
Yeah,
we need the stripped down version of Deshaun Watson. Full mind on a massage parlor Deshaun Watson. We don't need locked in choir boy Deshaun Watson. We need full on miscreant massage parlor Deshaun Watson. That's what we need against us, yo. This is what we need.
To be honest, man, it's sad to say, but I damn near want him to play halfway okay, because I don't want Winston to come in and Andy Dalton us to death. So
yeah, I know, bro. Listen, but I'm just saying, we are in Las Vegas, the home of the massage parlor. Deshaun Watson is right at home.
There you go.
Partake all you want, Deshaun.
Sanji, how you calling this game, man? What do you think realistically will be the results in the end?
I think if the Raiders' offensive line holds up, we win this game, right? I think it's going to literally come down to the offensive line. If it's the same offensive line as last week, we're going to end up getting blown out. Yeah. I think the Cleveland. I don't know what's wrong with their defense, right? They've struggled a little bit this year, right? Especially in moments they've struggled, and maybe it's because our offense can't hold on to the football. It's definitely possible, but our best players are hurt right now, especially on the defensive side. So I think we're going to struggle a little bit on the defensive side against the Cleveland Browns. It's going to come down to the offense. The offense has to get it done.
And do you think that we can somehow, some way get the ground game going this week? I mean, with injecting, the JPJ and the DJ Glaze into the offensive line at this point, at least we're doing something different, right? I mean, do you think in any world we don't see JPJ out there this week?
I think it's possible. I think it's possible he'll only be a rotational guy. Right? I think it's possible, but the Browns don't only have Myles Garrett on the defensive line. Right? They have a defensive tackle that's pretty good. Tomlinson, he's pretty good as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right? He can beat up good guards as well. So
is that Dalvin Tomlinson?
I don't know if it's Dalvin
Tomlinson.
Is it? Yeah,
he plays the ground game really good as well. He plays the run really well. So that's nasty work.
It might be Dalvin Tomlinson.
Yeah. They brought him over, I believe, from Minnesota, I believe.
Yeah, you're right. It is Dalvin Tomlinson.
Okay.
Yeah, he's good. He's a good player. He can pass rush. He can get after the quarterback, right? Mm-hmm. So I hope that the Raiders put Powers Johnson in at the Cody Whitehair spot, right? Because I really do think just switching out Cody Whitehair with Powers Johnson, it's going to make our offense line better. Right? I don't think Dylan Farms is absolutely terrible this year. Like, he's okay. He's not that bad, right? I think Cody Whitehair is the worst. I think Andre James is probably the second. But you can still win if you just swap out Cody Whitehair. I think they should swap out Andre James as well. But, Tom Telesco decided to pay him for whatever reason. So, so we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. But I think there's a chance we'll bounce back this year on the offensive line. This week on the offensive line and the run game.
If that happens, then there should be validated excitement in the nation. If that happens, if we can get the ground game going and the O-line finally shows up, go ahead, Wasted, darken up the show, bro. Go ahead and say some wild.
Whoa, wow.
A dark cloud.
I feel attacked here. I was actually going to give Sanjeet some snaps here. When you start talking about, Dylan Parham has been statistically our best lineman this year. Right. The guys had an over 82.8 overall grade, 77.9% pass blocking, 81.3 run blocking. He's played 166 offensive snaps, 118 pass blocking snaps, 48 run blocking snaps, 1 sack allowed, 3 total pressures. So he's been holding his own. He's playing in a way where, to me, from the eye test, right? He's still a little light in the ass. Right. Pause. He still kind of gets bullied a little bit. But he's been playing that bend don't break style of guard that I think will do well against this team. Because let me tell you something, man. It's getting to the point where the Raiders have to start really, really, suspending the contracts out of their thought process.
Right.
A lot of the reason why Andre James has not been, encumbered as far as being benched is because of the contract, right?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. Look, if you really want this team to win, and if you're really not saying, we don't win, we don't mind. You have to really, if you're gonna call a team out publicly, you got to stand on it.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're like, oh, that's why I wanted that to happen behind the scenes, because now our fan base and the media is going to say, hey, man, what about this guy getting slaughtered every other play?
Yeah.
What about that? What the F are you looking at, AP?
Has people gotten away from the football that we love when we played, right? No matter if you were a star, if you were looking bad, they're going to take you out. I'm just trying to figure out if Divine Diablo has been bad and he's hurt now, why was Gaynor and Luke Matt, like, why were they not getting more reps initially? Why is Merrick getting still, like, being out there? Why is Palomal not out there? Why does an injury have to happen to Marcus Epps in order for him or Chris Smith to really realistically get some reps? I said this yesterday. I just want the best players on the football field, man. Like what are we doing here?
Let's go back to 1992. Let's go back to 1992. Yo, once free agency came into the game, that all of that, merit-based play and football being a meritocracy, it is, but it's kind of not. You always see a guy that's a high draft pick get more grace than a guy that's a lower round draft pick. You'll always see that high price free agency get way more grace than they deserve.
No, definitely.
It is what it is till it ain't. Contracts matter.
But
because that'll get you fired as a GM if you have a guy that's a UDFA outplaying some guy that you gave a boatload of money to, and now he's not able to play himself out of that.
Another thing that I think sometimes we don't think about is, we don't know the guarantees that were made to Cody Whitehair verbally, right? When Cody Whitehair and his agent came and talked to Tom Fusco, and if Luke Getsy was in that room, we don't know what was said to Cody Whitehair. If they all said that, hey, you're going to be our starting left guard this year, you're going to be the guy, or you'll play at least this many games. And if the Raiders actually don't make that happen, we don't know what that agent might say or do with this next client, right? And I know
that's an interesting. I know
people don't think about that, but it works like that for sure, right?
Yeah.
Agents control a lot more than what people realize, And I'm not saying that's the case here.
No. But that's interesting, though. That's definitely something to take a look at. Salute to Coach. He said, I have to apologize to Sanji. When you predicted 4 to 5 wins this season, I lost my mind. Turns out it could be a reality. I owe you a Jamba Juice, sir. Salute to you. Salute to Xavier as well. Minshew and Getsy are injury bugs, AO12, and draft a quarterback. Salute to my guy Xavier on a $2 holla, man. You guys got anything that you want to put out there into the universe before this big game comes Sunday?
I just want to say this, man. Look, our team is not a bad football team. We have good players across the board, but our coaches have failed these players up to this point. And one of you guys mentioned, I think it was you, Graf, you said AP looked a little off in his pressure, as he should, right? Because AP's not guaranteed to be here next year. Mm-hmm. He's not even guaranteed to be here in 4 or 5 weeks if they don't get this shit turned around. Yeah, right. Because what Luke Getsy has shown us has been bad, but AP picked him at the end of the day, right? Yeah. That's AP's decision. So those guys just got to go out there and you said it yesterday. Put the best players out there. Yeah, put the best players out there. Right, put Powers Johnson in. Who cares about the contracts? Who cares about what guys drafted? Yeah. Luke Masterson sucks. Someone says that he sucks, man. I don't know why he's out there. Put in Amari Gaynor, man. Let that guy play.
I'm saying Luke Masterson sucked for 2 years, bro.
And Gaynor has gotten some reps though. He's starting to get more, more traction out there though.
He's gaining traction. No pun intended. Bang Zoom, everybody. Bang effing Zoom.
Wait, so what you got for us before this game, man?
Look, man. AP, there's a reason why people don't really know the intimate details of your contract. Mm-hmm. I was a guy who wanted AP, you know what I'm saying? Because the fact that I didn't think that Jim Harbaugh would even entertain being the Raiders head coach. Yeah. And when Ben Johnson said that he was going back to Detroit, I said, hey, listen, man, I don't want to be left at the altar without a guy that these guys like. Yeah. I don't want them to go out and go get Vrabel. Like once it got to the point where it was like we're gonna go out and go Vrabel and guys like that, I'm like, nah, just keep AP. Because I didn't think Jim Harbaugh. If I'm Jim Harbaugh, right? I'm being honest. Being a head coach, 90% of being successful is locating the quarterback. Yeah. When you go to a situation when the quarterback's located, that's a plus situation for you of your guy coming off of a national championship that wants to make a splash in the second biggest media market in the country. Yeah. So I thought once Ed Dodds got interviewed and there wasn't an immediate Jim Harbaugh interview, I knew that he wasn't considering coming here, right? That's just from I don't have any inside knowledge on that. That was just the way I looked at it, right? Now that we have AP, I think there's a reason why they haven't talked about his contract, because I think that he's an at-will employee. I think he's a man without union representation. Yeah. And I think that there's a very good chance that this can get very Joe Bugle-esque. If you guys remember back in 1997, Joe Bugle was an interim coach for Mike White. The players pined for him. They campaigned for him. They loved him. They adored him. And Joe Bugle was a hell of a lot more qualified to be a head coach of a football team than Antonio Pierce, because he was the architect of the Hogs and the Washington Redskins.
Yeah.
He was a phenomenal assistant coach and an assistant head coach.
He had an extensive resume at the NFL level.
Extensive resume, which AP does not have. And it got 4-12-ish. And we fired Joe Bugle, and the rest is history. We hired John Gruden.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. This is looking like the exact same situation. And they say if you don't look back at history, you are doomed to repeat it. I'm praying that Antonio Pierce can turn this around, because I don't want the dysfunction. I don't want 3 head coaches who aren't coaching this team to be on the payroll for the Raiders. And I don't want us to look like a dumpster fire anymore. And it all starts at the top. The optics of an organization are the hugest thing for free agents and the media. And I really want Antonio Pierce to bring some legitimacy back to this organization like he did last year. I'm rooting for him. I support him. And I'm praying that they can turn this around. Real
quick, salute to Omar on the $5 special as well. We appreciate you. And I don't know, Jenny just put something out there. It looks like, I don't know if this is true or not. I don't know if Jenny's out there trolling in the chat. Amir Abdullah, and look at my face in the default picture. Nasty work. With a back injury, it's possible we could see rookie Dylan Lowby make his debut for the Raiders on Sunday. Look, I've been waiting.
He's questionable. He is questionable.
Okay. So there you go. Salute to Jenny. I did not see that report yet, but I'm excited. Like I've been waiting to see what Dylan can do, regardless if it's great, terrible. Give the guy a shot. It can't get any worse than what it is now, right?
Really quickly. I just want to throw this out there. So I know AP told us Bax won't play and Thayer Munford won't play. Those guys, the official report came out.
Doubtful.
They're doubtful. They're not 100% out. So you never know.
Well, who was it? Munford and who else?
MAXX CROSBY. He's doubtful, but you never know. It's MAXX CROSBY, man. He might come out there for a couple snaps.
I hope not. This is the reason why JJ Watt's career was cut short, because he played through things he shouldn't have.
Yeah,
I don't want to see the same fate for MAXX CROSBY. Sit out, get that ankle right, brother.
I'm sorry, man. It's unheard of to watch a guy like him year in and year out do what he does, never leave the football field. That doesn't happen in this sport at any level. High school, like pee-wee, people got to take snaps off because, and Max is finally cotton up to him. Keep him out for a few weeks. Keep him out for a few weeks. Do not allow him to come out and look, Denver next week is a big game, divisional game. I don't care. Keep Max out. There's no reason to even have him out there. That ankle injury can definitely linger on and derail his career. So I think they made the right decision. And maybe they're just kind of trying to throw Cleveland off the game a little bit with the whole doubtful thing. But I think Cleveland is smart enough to understand that he'll probably be out. Salute to Earl as well on the way out. AP won't make that same mistake about commenting on his players again.
Yep.
Salute to Earl. Appreciate you on the $5 special.
Shout out to Shasha and Ray too.
As always, man, salute to everybody here in the building. Thank you guys for pulling up for the latest installment of the 12 Personnel Podcast. And salute to our guy, man. Your brother's in the building. Our pass rush was trash without Max. This is definitely facts. This is definitely facts. Salute to my guy, man. As always, we'll be back. Whether it's next week or 2 weeks from now, we all have a lot going on, but we try and do these shows as much as possible. And today, it was a must, with DAVANTE, Max out, and us all being, equally pissed about this Carolina Panthers game. It was mandatory. We had to come together and do this. Salute to my brothers once again, man. If you guys are not subscribed to Sanjeet, what are y'all waiting on, man? Go run that up. If you're not subscribed to my brother Wasted Talent, go over to Raider Nation Unlimited, hit that subscribe button. If you're not subscribed over at OLV Raiders Network, make sure you come over here, hit that subscribe button. As always, we appreciate you guys. Me and Wasted will be back probably tomorrow night or something, or sometime before the game with a Graph and Wasted the Graph show. And then me and Hammer will be covering the whole game, watch party live, Cleveland. So make sure you guys pull up, hang out with us. And
post game, come on over, Raider Nation Unlimited. Pre-game, myself and Big Mike Raider will be doing the Wake Up show. All your fantasy football gambling stuff, and we're gonna break down the game pre-show. So you guys pull on up.
And I'm still waiting to see the Jalen Richard show may still happen tomorrow. I'm just waiting for something, you guys. So make sure to stay tuned for that. If not, we'll probably push it out another week. So stay tuned for that. And everybody, go head over to our brother Hammer's house. He's going live right now to give his take on everything that's going on. Salute to everybody in the building. We love and appreciate every single one of y'all. We are out. One.